This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
Hello, and good evening, everybody. Caught me off guard slightly there. Welcome to Knife Talk, the podcast for knife makers, anybody interested in knives. Hosted by myself, Craig Lockwood of Chop Knives. We've got Geoff Fader of Fader Knives. And we also have Mareko Craig of Massey Fire Arts. Look at the guns. Look at those guns.
God, please. No one wants to see that. I mean, we don't want to see that.
We saw Jeff Balls last week.
Oh, did you? Wait a second. Stop the show.
Oh, jeez.
That was a good one. All of a sudden, I'm thinking that was a good story, and then there you go. That was a good.
that was a Father's Day joke, surely.
That's good.
Let's get straight in. Jeff, your week. What's been going on?
Crazy. It's been a lot of business, a lot of busy. Finished off a pile of knives that are going to ship out next week. I had a very nice conversation with the people at Jacques Pepin. I talked to his son-in-law and his daughter who are involved with him, and I'm doing another knife for Jacques, and he's been putting my knives in his videos, which is real nice. He's got a big old block, so he just takes mine when he has the chance, which is always very, very nice. And we had a nice conversation, and that was really good. And I had a funny situation happen. I was working one day. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but what's worse than somebody popping in? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Like somebody stopping by?
I don't get it so much here, but I can imagine if you're mid-flow, yeah, I can imagine it's not the best.
I had a pounding on the door, which is never good. Never good. And it was an uninvited guest knocking on the door. It's always startling. And if you're an uninvited guest and you stop by for the first time, it's one of those things where you're off to a bad start, right? So I opened the door, and it was an old friend of mine. And he said, "Hey, what's going on? Nice to see you." And I was like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He's like, "I want to come in and see what you're up to." And I said to him, "Have you been vaccinated?" And he goes, No, I haven't been vaccinated. And I said, he says, "Oh, does that matter to you?" And I'm like, "Kinda. I mean, this is my, if we're out and about, whatever. But if we're in the space, if we're in my space, it's just like you already banged on the door and came in." And so he's okay. I'll put a mask on. So he comes in. We just chit chat. I'm kind of like already irritated. Wannabe predator hunting Brigham Kendall. When I make it to New York, can I visit you? This is from the chat. People are in the chat watching us live. The answer is no. How you like that? But thank you for asking. At least you were nice enough to ask. So we're talking, and all of a sudden, he's talking about how he's looking forward to doing some travel, and he does a lot of traveling and stuff like that. He's just like, "I'm trying to figure out places I can go where I don't have to worry about the vaccine, and it's not going to be a big deal, and it's been real hard to travel now." And I just turned to him and I said, "Well, why don't you just get the vaccine?" And normally I would accept, it's my personal decision. It's, whatever. This is not my thing, whatever. But he said to me, "Well, it hasn't been FDA approved, and I did a lot of research on it, and I'm really waiting for the FDA to approve it before I have it." And it was one of those things where I was like, if he had just said, "That's my personal decision, I'm not going to do it," I'd have left him alone. But then all of a sudden I realized, I said, "Wait a second. Weren't you the one who came in here with the custom vape pens that you made and all the oils that you bought online?" And then you told me that you were addicted to vaping and how much you love vaping. And he just laughed. I said, "Wait a second. Are you the same person who told me that you're a psychedelic adventurer, and then you eat mushrooms and acid and Molly, and you were telling me all about like all this fucking kratom and shit?" I said, "Wasn't that you?"
Mushrooms.
Whatever. I said, "Was that you? Was that you? Is that you? Wasn't that you?" And he's just like, I could see under his mask, his face was getting red, and it was just like, he's like, "Yeah, that what?" I said, "You know what? That fucking was you. None of those things were FDA approved. And now all of a sudden you give a shit about the FDA." And then all of a sudden I turned to him and I said, "Get the fuck out of my shop." I said, "Tell this to your bullshit friends at the bar. Go tell your fucking buddies this bullshit, because it's not going to work here." get out of here. And I threw him out. I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Go tell your mother this bullshit. Tell everybody else. But you told me, I know you. You don't give a fuck about the FDA.
I
So
can't believe you said that to Steve Schwartzer. I cannot believe it.
It's number one. It's everyone calls him Steve Schwartzer. It's Steve Schwarzer. But the number two is I wouldn't have thrown. He probably would have called me before he showed up. So, but at the same time, it was like hilarious because it was like, like I said, you have your own reasons. That's fine, but don't try to pretend all of a sudden you're professional FDA. You're like Mr. FDA. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that shit. But so that was a really funny moment because all of a sudden I was just like, I just threw someone out of my shop, and it was
Nice.
great. It felt really
Nice.
good. So
I need to mention and I don't know if you have it with you, your knife that you made, which was one of Florentine Kitchen Knives blanks when you were over there in Spain. You finished it off this week. You've got it with you.
I don't have it with me. It's at home. I brought it home for lunch. Yeah. So when I was there 2 years ago, he gave me some blanks to take home, and I did one kind of like the way that the stacked handles, the way he does it. And then I had an extra one, and I've been fooling around with it for a while. I actually made a handle. I put a handle on it 2 months ago, and I hated it. It looked like a dick. It looked like a colorful penis. And I was like, fuck this shit. And I cut it off. And then I've been fooling around with some new things, some Color Lab stuff. And I put it on, I threw this one on, and it was like, threw it on with everything else I'm doing. And a little bit here, a little bit there. And it just came out great. So yeah. So he Tomer immediately messaged me. He's like, what are you doing with that one? And I'm like, it's going to stay here. But if you send me some blanks, I'll make some more and we'll do a collaboration. So this fall, he and I have so much shit I owe him, but we're going to do some 4 or 5 different things.
It looked special.
So, It was fun. It was fun.
And I need to thank you for the bottle opener and the blank that you sent me too. It's stunningly beautiful. That bottle opener is something special. Really is.
Well, thank you for all your hard work and your friendship.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a piece of I'm the Damascus I make is just not good enough to sell. So it's like I buy Damascus from Bob Rankin, and I have been for a while, and it's super dependable, and he's just a good dude, and he'll make it to the size you want, and his prices are great. And if you were to buy, if you were going to stock removal Damascus from a small maker, he's a great dude to do it with. So he's been sending me Damascus for a while, and I had a little piece, and I thought I'd forge out a bottle opener. So it forges great. It forged really great. There were no problems with it, and it was a lot of fun. So it was my pleasure.
Yeah, it is a beautiful
Add
thing.
to your collection.
Exactly. Yeah, ever growing collection. Mareko, your week. What's been going on?
Well, you mentioned Florentine Kitchen Knives. We got to give them a shout out and congratulations to the new baby girl, Lily, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Congratulations, you guys. This last week for me has mostly been administrative stuff. So we talked a couple episodes back about a phone call that had to happen. It's kind of a big deal. So lately now I've been kind of doing kind of like administrative side of the business stuff, kind of based around how all that stuff's going forward. I know I'm teasing it a lot. We'll definitely talk about it when I can talk about it. I did. So I have what is it? I have some gear from Broadbeck actually, that I've been meaning. I've just been caught up with all the other stuff I'm doing. I have an issue of bouncing around, and so I haven't really had a chance to focus in on these things and put them together. So they sent me their new deep platen setup, and I put it together. And I also made some modifications to it a little bit, where I made it just a little bit deeper right in front of the arm, where the arm kind of attaches to the platen holder. Because I really like to be able to swing the handle around behind the belt, especially when I'm doing my handle sculpting, because I do like all my handle sculpting on the machine. And to be able to really get into all those curves and contours, I need to have a lot of flexibility, and some of that is some of that space behind that belt, not just not just the length of the space height that I have to work with, but the depth too that I have to work with as well. And so I got that put together, and what else did I put together? I can't remember what else. Anyways, I've just been putting things together and making modifications. And one of the other modifications I made was to the actual platen. And I saw Charlie post about this a while back, but I've also been doing the same, where on the back of the platen, instead of having square edges, it's chamfered at an angle, so that you have this nice little tight corner that you can work around if you're doing whatever. So I really love doing that. And so getting in there and cleaning that up and getting that fixed up to rock and roll was good. But otherwise, it's just been like, honestly, like boring business stuff, like talking to CPAs, talking to business lawyers, all this kind of shit. And that's about it. I'm trying to think. I have one more note I wanted to make about stuff I saw in this last week. Um, so I was doing some TIG welding actually on a mosaic. So I was making my little micro billets that I do where I make a mosaic bar, then I cut off little chunks and I stack them up. And so I call those little micro billets and I TIG them back together. And I was always having this issue, or lately I've been having this issue where it just feels like I'm getting really dirty welds and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I did a little Googling and it looks like I actually had my argon pressure up too high. And apparently, the shielding gas helps protect kind of like the arc and where it's actually welding and all that kind of stuff. So you get nice clean welds. And if it's too weak, if you don't have enough shielding gas coming out, you're not getting that protection you need. But if you also, I guess, if you have too much pressure too, it also does bad stuff. And so I had been running it at like 15-20, which is good if you're doing like a CO2 argon mix for like MIG welding or something like that. But for TIG welding, you actually only want it apparently between like 8 to 10.
Hmm.
And I dialed it back and it just started welding super clean. 8 to 12 is what E-Tech Shooter is saying. And it was great. I have it sitting like just below 10 and it's killing it. So there's that. Jason Ellard blacksmithing, or is it blacksmithing? Ellard, anyways. He's a crazy talented kid from Tasmania. He forged out these mosaic Damascus hammers. They're fucking stunning. I don't know if you guys have seen them.
I saw that. I think you posted on your stories, didn't you?
I
They look
did.
beautiful.
It's just like I saw the picture and it was shocking. Like it was just absolutely, like they're just absolutely beautiful. And to do it 3 times over, all really nice, beautifully figured handles and stuff like that. I had to post that back up. So, yeah, that's what I got. Oh,
Nice.
actually, I do have one more thing. Jeff's not gonna like this because I'm Mr. Snack Attack in the shop.
As long as it's not nothing to do with me, it's fine.
Have you got a vending
No.
machine in the shop?
No, I don't have a vending machine. I did some like super low tech. I got trail mix from Costco, but I have a tip for people who like the trail mix. It's got like fruit and it's got like the M&Ms and the peanuts and almonds, cashews, and all that other stuff. Something I've been doing lately is mixing in a little bit. Something else you can also get Costco is bacon bits, which is usually sold to be used on salads and stuff like that. So basically, but it's not refrigerated; it's on the shelf, and it's because the way they make it is like jerky, and they just chop it up into all these little bits. So
Dehydrated.
you have pork jerky chopped up in little bits, and that's what they sell. And so I've started mixing that in with my trail mix to have a little bit of extra protein in there to kind of keep, because I'm not really a breakfast eater. But I only bring a little bit to eat for lunch. But I also don't want to just keep throwing handfuls of this trail mix in. So I've been munching on that trail mix. So that's my trail mix tip, to add a little of that dehydrated, that pork jerky.
Nice.
Or do teriyaki jerky, whatever you want to throw in there. It's super tasty. It's a good
Bacon
mix.
makes everything better. Yeah,
Of
without
course
a doubt.
it does.
Without a doubt.
It absolutely does.
Before I talk about my week, we've had a question in the chat. So for those who are listening on Monday to the audio podcast, we record this live on a Friday and we record it live on YouTube and Facebook Live too. So we get a bit of interaction from people. And we've had a question from, well, not a question rather, but more of a comment from Zane and Amber Beard saying, how do I get a hold of Bob Rankin to buy some Damascus? Loving the live show. So he's on Instagram and I think it's Bob Rankin Knives. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy. Drop him a message, and I'm sure he'll be able to sort you out. Or Bob, if you're listening, contact Zane and Amber Beard. They're in the market for some Damascus.
Don't cold call this dude. Don't cold call this.
I will. So Bob Rankin, that TIG welder that I use now in the shop, that was actually sent to me by Mr. Bob Rankin.
Oh wow!
So I owe him so
Worlds
much.
colliding.
It's all
Look at
coming
all this.
together.
All
Yeah.
coming together.
That was very much a Ricky Gervais action you did there, Geoff. I like it. I've had a really good week. So I've been using the surface grinder from Broadback Ironworks a lot this week. surface grinding blades for a folder and a bunch of table knives. And I've been loving it. It's just easy to use, and I love it. But we'll talk more about that later when we talk about our sponsors. We A bit of personal news changed things a lot this week. We're selling this current house that I'm currently in, and it fell through, didn't go through. But we had more visits this week, and now somebody is buying it. We found a new buyer, and everything's agreed.
Nice.
So that meant a lot of cleaning and tidying, and my workshop here is in the house. So that needed a full-on overhaul, ready for the visit. So that was a bit of a shit. But in good news, I don't know if you guys have them in America. This company called Relays and Chateau.
Yeah, of course.
They own
said
hotels
that.
all around the world, like
So-
really high-end sort of hotels. And I've been bugging certain members of their sort of executive staff for a long time about getting knives into their restaurants and so on. And I finally had a meeting this week with the guy who basically runs all of France. So there's 380 restaurants, hotels around the world. They're all pretty high end stuff. So they've all got very good restaurants. Met with the guy, and we're doing a deal. So
Nice.
there'll be a lot of my knives going to a lot of these restaurants, which is cool.
That's
Um,
huge.
Jeez. That's
But
like
what was really
thousands-
nice about that was he sort of comped me a meal in a local restaurant, which is owned by
Ooh.
Relays and Chateau. And this place is incredible. So it's in a town called Brantôme, which my wife and I love anyway. And we had like the full-on experience, like it's got Michelin stars, and it's like an 8-course gastronomy journey, and it was incredible. And so yeah, I've been trying to diet, but we ended up having these 8 courses. It was a bit of a celebration because we've got this deal with the restaurant group as
Yeah.
well. So it's been a very, very good week. It's gonna
Now,
keep me
real
busy.
quick,
Sure.
you're sure you're talking to the right guy, right? For this knife deal.
It is the right guy. It is the right guy.
Okay.
And in fact, this first restaurant we went to, they've ordered a bunch of knives as well.
It's not
so-
one of their dishwashers.
No.
Yeah,
no. Well,
sure. Send us all these knives.
well, he comped me a hell of a meal. If he's not the right guy, comped me a hell of a meal, and we've
That's
already
good.
got our first order. So yeah, it's
Nice.
all good. But
Is that the one when you posted the soup, the little cup of soup next to your hand?
Yes. So it was 8 courses, and it was we're quite fortunate in what we do. That I get to visit some really nice restaurants and so on for meetings and whatever. And they generally, they try to sort of impress you and feed you, that kind of thing. But this was the full-on sort of French pomp, the white gloves and the maitre d'
Cool,
and the
baby.
sommelier coming over. It was proper good stuff. But yeah, the food was
Well,
incredible.
like drink pairings with every course.
Yes.
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that.
it was very good. But for some reason, there's this thing at the moment about having herb flavored ice creams with like savory dishes,
Yeah.
and we've had it a few times now, and it just jars me slightly. But everything else was fantastic. It was great. So that's been my week. Wales went out of the Euros in the football, I'm afraid.
Can I
yeah,
just
Fran-
say one thing about Relays and Chateau?
Sure,
It's
sure.
more like a guide, like from what I understand, because it's restaurants in the United States get affiliated with them. And it's like a
Yes.
guide. And
It's-
it's huge. I mean, it's like you get like a plaque and you mount it to the outside of your building. Like it's
Yeah,
like
well,
a big deal. Big
They're
deal.
basically a management company, so they'll go in and they'll manage the hotel and restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. So the staff are
wow.
generally employed by Relays and Chateau. But
I always thought it was
they're-
like there was like a relationship like with like outside
Like
restaurants too.
AC Delco.
yeah, it's not a
And auto
buyout. So
repair.
they're still owned independently by whoever it may
Right.
be. But they're sort of managed by this larger group, if you like. And yeah, it does work out as a sort of guide to sort of quality, I suppose, then as well. So yeah, it's very good news. It does mean that I'll be doing a lot more of table knives, which can be quite boring because you do big runs of the same knife. But yeah, hopefully we can spice it up and make them different for each restaurant, that kind of thing. So it's all good.
Congratulations.
But yeah, as in sort of personal news, Wales went out to the Euros this week, unfortunately. France went out this week, unfortunately, too, in what was probably the best game of football that's ever been shown on TV. It was incredible.
Wow, that's a big statement.
It was incredible. But England are still in, and they play tomorrow in the quarterfinals. So yeah, so that is sorry, Mareko.
I was just gonna say I learned recently that the term soccer actually originated from Britain. I started following this etymology page,
Right,
which
yes,
is
yeah.
like the origins of words, and soccer apparently is originally a British term. Sorry,
Yeah, I mean, people do
kind of
use
derail
soccer
the story.
meaning soccer, but I know you guys, we use football as our main thing, but obviously you guys have American football, which is different. You use the
Yeah.
word soccer for our football. Yeah, as a kid, we called it soccer, I suppose. Yeah.
I have strange sports news.
Go for it.
I was listening to a Yankee game with a dear.
I love that professional trampolining. I love it.
What? Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's a game, and Mark Peacock and I were talking. He was watching it or listening to it, and it was the Yankees and the Angels. Now, just to let you know, the Yankee Stadium is probably the most famous baseball stadium in the world. It has to be top 5. Yankee Stadium is number 1. And this pitcher for the Angels got on the mound, the pitcher's mound, which is in the very middle of the stadium. And it was fucking hot. You guys, it was so hot. I know, Mareko, you must have been like wilting. This poor son of a bitch was about to pitch. He got off the rubber, stood over the mound, and threw up everywhere.
Oh,
It was
I
like
got a great
the
story to
video
follow this
was
up.
the video was so bad. It was like all you could think. The entire stadium is going, oh God, and they're heckling him because he's the opposing team, and this poor son of a bitch is just throwing up in the middle of Yankee Stadium. It was the saddest situation I'd ever seen in my life.
and a sports game is like ultra high definition in slow motion. I bet it was the worst.
But it wasn't like it wasn't like a dude. It's the dude you're looking at. It's the guy who's making the play. It was like it was totally crazy. So that's I just wanted to,
Yeah, I joked about hoping to survive the heat wave. The heat got at least up in Olympia. I know our boy Jeremy spaked down higher temperatures, but we got to about 112 here in Olympia.
Insane.
Yeah, which is so hot. And I joked about hoping to make it through the weekend, and my dumbass got heat stroke, and I was throwing up my guts. I like blacked out at one point.
What?
Wow.
I was like, yeah.
Were you in the shop or were you at home?
No. I was at home. I stayed out of the shop for those days.
Yeah.
I was at home when this happened. And this was like at the end of the day. Like we started the day kind of outside and we were doing stuff. But once it got too hot, we were like, all right, we're going inside. In the afternoon, we did go back outside, but we had like the kiddie pool all set up and we were swimming and hanging out and it was nice. But I underestimated, the kind of the illusion of staying cool with also meaning that I'm also good internally. I was not doing a good job drinking water. I got severely dehydrated and too much time in the heat. I actually even cooked dinner that night. Oh, we didn't do a lot of cooking actually. We did our Roman style dinner, which is like a picnic. Anyways, yeah, I'd completely forgotten until I was talking to my wife about it the next day. Like at one point, I had like climbed into the shower and took a shower because I felt disgusting and sweaty from throwing up and being hot, and it was gnarly. Like I forgot a bunch of shit. She's like,
how
"Oh
were you
my
the
God."
next day? But was it like a quick recovery or what?
It felt very similar to like a very bad hangover the next day. Like I had a raging headache. My whole body was kind of aching. We went and actually spent the day at my in-laws who have a heat pump. We don't have any kind of air conditioning or cooling system in our house. So we went to their place where they do have that. And we hung out in a nice, cool, like 65, 70 degree house all day, just to kind of, and I basically like slept all day except for stopping to eat a little bit here and there and drink water. And then I went back and slept more and just like, I just felt horrible the next day. I'm feeling good now.
And there's no way that this is the pork trail mix, right?
No, this is before the pork trail mix.
Okay.
Jeff
All right,
is against
just want
pork.
to rule it out. I just want to rule out the pork trail mix.
No, this is
teriyaki pork trail mix. Okay. All right.
God, that sounds good.
Can I just make a point that in our live chat, we've got somebody called Eddie Blanks, and he says, "Come visit my YouTube channel and listen to some smooth jazz music and relax." I think we've got bots in our live stream now.
Nice.
Let's do it, Eddie. Only if Eddie can answer a question for me. Eddie, if you're in the Eddie Blanks, if you answer this question, I will go straight to your YouTube channel in the middle of this broadcast. Eddie Blanks, here's the question for you. Okay? Here's the question for you. Eddie Blanks, if you want to, and if you, everybody else forget it, Eddie Blanks, if you want to drill a 1/4-inch hole, no, if you want to use a 1/4-inch dowel and you want to get a tight fit, what letter bit should you use for that 1/4-inch dowel? Eddie Blanks,
It's
you're
over
on the
to you.
line. It's over to you. All right, guys, back to the show.
While Eddie's listening, maybe we can have a word from one of our sponsors.
Knife Talk is sponsored by Even Heat, the manufacturers of the finest heat treat ovens available. To find your next oven, go to evenheat-kiln.com.
It's that easy. But what we suggest you do actually is not actually go to Even Heat. We want you to have an Even Heat because they're the best. But head on over to Salt Ceramics because they are a distributor, especially if you're in the US, because you'll get $75 off, and you'll get free shipping in the US, and you can spec it out exactly how you want it. But yeah, if you use knifetalk.net/heat, it'll automatically apply those discounts for you. Or if you look down in the description, once this has been published, you'll be able to click that and go straight through and get those discounts. So get yourself an Even Heat. They're the best there is. Okay, this is the bit of the show that we like to call
Hey man, can I ask you a question?
where people ask us questions. So throughout the week, people will DM us on Instagram, and you can contact us.
Contact us via DM at Knife Talk Podcast on Instagram. It's that easy.
And these are some of the people who have. So, Geoff, do you want to take that first question?
Yes, the first question comes from Sharfaz Aladdin. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, my man. You're awesome. Okay. Hey man, can I ask you a question? Do you guys ever scratch your blades while cutting through paper? I sharpen my blades as the last step in the process, but when I go do a paper test, I occasionally mess up the surface finish with faint scratches. Is that normal? Am I just not great at sharpening? Is there an alternate cut test that you like to test your edges with? Thanks. Love the show.
Mareko, let's start with you. How are you doing your sharpening tests?
I do paper, but I use newspaper print out of an old phone book. It's really lightweight. It's not super heavy. And I always make sure I'm using a clean page. Like these books lay around my shop, and I just tear the top page right off. And I use that to like light the forge later or something. But I do not use it for the cut test because I don't know what's landed on that piece of paper. So that there could be some weird debris in the shop that's landed on the paper that he's using or wherever he's at, and it's scuffing up the surface of the knife. I think with Damascus, it's a less of an issue versus a monosteel thing where it's just like everything on a monosteel, stainless or carbon steel, whichever blade, the finish looks very uniform, and you can see the slightest little schmutz, kind of rub, scuff, whatever, like glaring. It's so glaringly obvious, and so I sometimes actually avoid doing those cut tests when I'm doing a monosteel knife, like a W2 blade with a hamon, or I don't really do kind of like monosteel stainless or anything like that, but I try to avoid those because that shit does happen, and I don't want to go back in there and have to clean that back up. So this might be a better question for you guys because I'm pretty sure Sar Faraz, he's doing mostly stainless stuff.
Yeah. I've never really had that issue. So is he talking actually on the very cutting edge, I assume? That's the only bit that would contact the paper, surely. I've never had an issue. Maybe I'm not looking close enough. But yeah, I mean, I use basic, copy paper. I've got reams of the stuff here, and I just use that stuff. And if it cuts clean, and you can normally hear by the sound as well if it's a clean cut or whether, there's any sort of resistance as you're pulling down, across the whole of the blade. But I've never really noticed any issue to the actual blade itself. Jeffrey, what are you doing for sharpness tests, and have you noticed anything at all?
I use paper, but if I'm worried about like paper scratching my knife, then I'm more worried about what's going to happen when my customers get the knife. Like if you're cutting food and stuff like that, I don't get too worried about. I haven't noticed that paper makes. I know that there's a difference between a scuff and a scratch. You can scuff something and then wipe it off with some, rag and acetone. Things get scuffed. That's different than a scratch.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't get too worried about it because people are going to be using these knives to cook with, and a piece of paper gives them problems, and I wonder what a piece of celery is going to do. So I don't get too horned up about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
fair
even if you do, well, how about if you do accidentally get a little bit of a scratch anyway, somehow accidentally
From
Is
paper?
there any? Well, no, just like I guess this is kind of a follow-up question. How do you fix it if you accidentally get a little scuff on your blade?
You kind of have to. If it depends on how you're doing it. I have in the past. I've hand sanded 800, gotten a scuff, and then I hit it with a piece of gray Scotch-Brite, and all of a sudden it changes the satin finish. So I think it's like I get very I try the one thing I don't do is I don't keep them sharp for long. I'll sharpen it right before it goes into the box.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to have to do. My biggest fear. The one day I hate more than anything else is sharpening days, because I'm convinced at one time I'm gonna drop it, and then what's the worst that can happen? You break the knife. You've done that. You've been down that road. Or if I bump it on, or it bumps the handle, and then all of a sudden I've got to fix a scratch there. I've had things where I was sharpening a knife, and then the belt hit the bolster, and all of a sudden I had to go back and clean the bolster up because I had a scratch in the bolster. I try the fuck not to do any of that shit, so I don't get too worried about it. But you got to go back to the last thing, you know.
Yep.
So
The gray Scotch-Brite is a strong move.
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig.
Yeah.
the color,
But I mean,
different. Go
If
ahead.
you've hand sanded, maybe to 800 plus 1200, as soon as you use that grey Scotch-Brite, it's sort of going back a step then. So you then need to go back into your hand sanding. But generally, once I've hand sanded the blade, I wrap it in tape quite loosely. So it's almost like it's like a tape condom. It can slide on and off, and that thing is left on until the very end. I then do sharpening, and it's then packaged, ready to go. So generally, once it's been hand sanded, it's protected right up to the point it goes into the packaging normally. So like you said, scuffs are different to scratches, but I've never had scratches from paper. Never.
Yeah, I was sharpening a knife one time. I had already marked it, etched it. It was like sharpening for me also is the very last thing. And I typically start on the machine with like a 220, and I'll finish on a stone, my Belgian blue stone. And the fucking heel caught the belt and blew the belt up.
Ooh.
Scratched the shit out of the knife, and I had to throw the thing back onto the hand sanding board. I had to go back into hand sanding because it's like 220 scratch. So I had to go back in and redo all of that all over again. I was so
The ones
pissed.
that pop,
Sucks.
the ones that pop, those belts that pop for me like that are the 800 grits, because they're so lightweight. And I've actually I've done the same thing where I've caught the heel and it just like pops, and then it's like you're just like, am I holding everything? Is this in me? Or it's just like a terrible
Something you don't want to hear her say.
No.
Yeah.
But in regards to Scotch-Brite, before I was doing this, and I was in a finishing a metal shop, we did finishing work. It was everything satin finish, DA finishes, and we were constantly we were going up to 300, we were going up to 320 with an orbital sander or whatever hand sanding, like structural, outside of buildings, stainless. And then we would do green Scotch-Brite, red Scotch-Brite, and gray Scotch-Brite. So the Scotch-Brite definitely brings you back, and I've been starting to use Scotch-Brite as my final finish, just to
It's a nice
get
finish.
an even finish. It's
Yeah.
even.
You know where you can get that Scotch-Brite?
Tell me.
Combat Abrasives.
There you go.
Combat Abrasives makes the world's best abrasive belts for knife makers. Available in any size at unbelievable prices. Go take a look at combatabrasives.com and get 15% off with promo code KNIFETALK15. Do it now.
15% off. That's a hell of a deal. Hell of a deal. So if you're doing that, make sure you tell us and you tell them too. But yeah, I use Scotch-Brite a lot. So I use I do sort of the grading. So I think it's brown, maroon. I always forget whether it's blue grey or grey blue. So I always need to look it up each time. I need to write it down somewhere. But I think it's blue grey. And Combat, they obviously sell the full range. So yeah, get yourself some Scotch-Brite belts if you haven't. And they do such a good range. So chuck in a few belts that you've never used before and see if it works for you.
I will
Okay.
add
Tip.
about.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
We're all in this tip. We're like all like savagely running in with tips. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to follow up Combat Abrasive, they got a 4th of July sale that's going on through Monday, so it ends July 5th. And if you put in July 4 as your checkout code, you'll actually save 20%
Oh, wow.
during this little sale here. So you'll get an extra 5% off.
Nice.
I'm gonna order this weekend. I have some stuff to get this weekend. That's good. I'm glad you told me.
Get some of that Gray Scotch Brite.
Yeah.
You know, a little hot tip is if you can get blue scrubbies, which is like a Scotch Brite that doesn't scratch. It's great for, I don't know if you've ever had like a stainless steel refrigerator and you want to like get it out, and if you kind of go the wrong direction, you can. But they have this blue. It's like a blue Scotch Brite, but it's not Scotch Brite. I think it is a Scotch Brite, but it's so usually in a cleaning aisle, and it's a scrubby, and you can clean stuff off with it without worrying about your satin finish. Blue scrubbies.
Nice.
I love them.
Blue
Nice.
Scrubbies.
There we go. Mareko's got some there. Mareko, do
Yeah,
you want
right
to take the next question?
If I can go back to the notes. Yes. Okay. This one is from Thomas Nugget. He says, "It's hot as balls out. How do you guys handle the heat in the shop when it is in this hot?"
I think it's Nugent, but I like Thomas Nugget.
Thomas Nugget. That goes well.
Oh yeah. I'm hungry. We've been feeding side note, Victor hates chicken. So, and we started doing these dino nuggets from Costco, and he loves those. And all of a sudden I'm a fiend for those nuggets now. Whenever I cook some for him, I definitely cook some, like a little side patch for me.
Nice. Nice.
All right, Thomas Nugget. How do you guys keep the shop cool?
I've got like a huge window in the front of my shop because it's literally like a retail shop it used to be. So the sun streams through that and it sort of magnifies obviously and bakes everything. So I've just got a bunch of fans everywhere. So I have I generally keep the door open as well, going outside, and I have fans just pushing everything out that door. It also helps also with dust collection as well because I don't really have a dust collection system, but I have that sort of positive pressure, get everything moving. But yeah, I have 4 or 5 fans and they're just around all the time. And the cold spoon, obviously. Cold spoon method. Which
The
we
cold
talked about.
spoon with the zinc.
Yeah.
On the gooch. Do you ever put blinds outside the window?
There are blinds, but it doesn't really help so much because it's directly facing the sun. So yeah,
It's still hot as hell.
it's still hot as hell.
Yeah.
Geoff, apart from the shorts with your balls
ahead.
hanging out, how do you keep cool?
I have an air conditioner.
Oh,
That's right. I was given a portable air conditioner, and I
nice.
have my regular area is all concrete, so I keep my door closed. I learned this back in the day that everyone opens the door, it's a giant mistake. And all it does is, unless you have if you have wooden floors, it doesn't really matter. But if you have concrete floors, that concrete just kind of keeps it cool. So I keep all my doors closed, and then I have an air conditioner. It's like a floor standing air conditioner. And then I have a fan in front of the air conditioner. So I kind of send the shop fresh, clean air. Well, I mean, fresh, cold air.
Yeah.
And then I have a small refrigerator that I actually just defrosted, and I just bought some new dedicated water jugs, and I'm filling them up at the house and I've got cold water in the refrigerator.
Yeah. 2 other small tips actually. So I use as a respirator, I've got the one with the forced air, and it sends a wash of air sort of down over your face. And even on a hot day, that air just always feels so much cooler. So that really helps you keep cool, especially if you just wear a tight respirator all the time. You know, you want that cold air. So that helps. But also, Geoff just reminded me about having a refrigerator there in the shop. If you've got access to a freezer, get big bottles of water, freeze them, and if you're using fans, put them in front of the fans. Because what happens there is that cold air it hits those big bottles, and it really gives you nice cold air coming back out. And once they defrost, you just simply throw them back in the freezer and you keep using them forever and ever. Yeah, it works really well.
2 more
You
things.
ever- Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna make a dumb joke about Craig shoving the hose of the respirator down his pants. Go ahead,
No.
Geoff.
No.
Wow. You get a little bit of that. Get a little bit of that smelling salts going on and wake them up.
Yeah.
Chris Zepp did a video a couple of years ago where he made a portable air conditioning unit very inexpensively, where he basically got plumbing supplies in a whatchamacallit, like a styrofoam cooler, and then he popped some holes in it, put fans in, and put ice in, and he said it was great. That's number one, Chris Zepp. And number two is, you guys are gonna laugh, I get these Patagonia underwear that are like
I just heard you
fucking
talking about those.
amazing.
It's merino
Amazing.
wool. Merino
No,
wool ones.
no
yeah?
merino fucking wool. They're like I don't know what's in them. It's like kind of a nylon situation, but like it gets to like May, and I'm on the Patagonia. I just ordered 3 more pair, and I swear to God, I keeps everything cool. And hell, I'm telling you, get yourselves a good pair of underpants.
Mareko sent us a tip on Instagram this week, actually, about pants. And I think these would help in keeping those balls nice and cool.
Oh, you want me to talk about it? I don't know.
You may as well. Everybody's intrigued, I'm sure.
I say, yeah, I saw, what is it? These stupid ads that pop up. I don't honestly know why this one came up on my Instagram feed, but it starts out with some woman their peaches into this sack inside of a pair of underwear, and it's basically, it's a separate, it's a pair of boxer briefs that has a separate pouch for your ball bag, for your tackle.
The algorithm.
Just
So-
what you need.
Just what the
Just what I
algorithm
need.
has got you. It's pointing out some flaws in your swiping.
Let's see. I have an old window AC unit, and it's sitting over. I have like a little, whatever it is, like a little plywood box over the top and a bucket underneath it to catch the water. That's my super ghetto AC setup. It's great though. I pop over every once in a while, turn it on, sit in front of it for a couple minutes while I cool down, and I go back to work.
There you go.
Yeah, it's super important to keep cool and just keep, comfortable in the shop, I think. So, yeah, all good tips. Geoff, do you want to take the next question?
Jordan Dan's a good dude. Hey man, I got a question. I tried doing my first coffee etch and the results were awesome, but I realized that I didn't think about my maker's mark. I used a personalizer plus to etch my mark on. Should I put the mark on before the ferric and the coffee etch or after? I read some guys putting their mark on and then masking it with nail polish. Curious for your process on that.
Mareko, it's all you.
Is that me? All right. So my approach is I hand sand the blade, and then I make my etch, and then I do some last final strokes before I clean off the blade, and to clean off kind of the area around the mark, because it can kind of get a little foggy or kind of funky around there, from just like the fluids you're using to make the etch, and then I do the acid, and I don't like
Wait.
maker's
Hold on a
mark.
second. Hold on a second.
Okay.
So you do the deep etch. You don't do the mark on the personalizer because there's two. There's the deep
Yeah,
etch,
sorry,
and then there's
so-
the mark. And then you're putting in you're talking about the ferric chloride afterwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do the deep etch using my personalizer. I don't have the plus. I just have the basic on-off AC/DC personalizer. I do a deep etch. I probably go like almost 20 thousandths of an inch into the steel,
Yeah, girl.
because I like it nice and deep. Yeah,
Sure you do.
that's some serious flea dicking right there. And and then I clean that off. I go into my ferric to get a little bit of a tooth and a bite and some texture, and then I go into the coffee. I do that, and then sometimes sometimes on my blades you can only see the maker's mark if you're actually like really looking for it or holding it at the right angle. Otherwise it kind of gets lost, and I kind of like that. Like, it's definitely there, but it's not in your face trying to say, like any kind of like Marco Marlosi's knife or anything like that, But there are other ways you can do it too, which our friend Salem Straub, he does a process where he kind of masks off a window. Now, I don't know exactly how he's doing it, if he's doing it before and then marking his name after, or if he's marking his blade, then masking it off, and then etching the blade afterwards. And so, but that is also another way that you could approach doing that.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
question. How do
Sure.
how do some people do that gold? Sometimes their maker mark isn't gold. How do they do that?
So it depends on how like kind of like how sophisticated the equipment you have. So if you're like say you're a very good engraver, they could be doing a gold inlay 100%, or you could be doing a maker's mark, following it with a very simple gold plating system, like a pen gold plating. Sorry, microphone. Plating system where you just kind of basically mark it in there. You have like some gold solution, and you do all this process of getting it set up, so the gold actually sticks. Then gently hand sanding, and then you might mask over that with. I think we talked about doing like super glue in the past to kind of fill in the maker's mark, and kind of protect that gold. Then go do your Damascus etch or Hamon or whatever your finish is going to be, and then you can kind of get back in there with just some acetone and a cotton swab, clean that super glue out.
That's got me thinking about maybe using a laser, really a deep etch in a laser, and then doing a gold plate on top.
Yeah, boy.
Cue everybody else doing that next week.
Yeah, telling
Wow.
you,
Ah.
telling you. The thieves are writing it furiously down. He's gonna laser etch the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway, whilst we're talking about Damascus, let's talk about Dharma Steel, who are one of our sponsors. We've started this new thing called the Dharma Steel Knife of the Week. So if you're using Dharma Steel and you're making a knife, first of all, well done you, because it's awesome stuff. But if you tag Dharma Steel Lab and also tag us, we get to see them, and I can highlight one a week. And I found one this week. And this is from Carver Knife Company, which is based in Nashville. And this is like for me, I do. Sorry, let me just pull that off so you can see me a bit.
That's what she said.
I do stock removal, so if I'm using Dharma Steel, there's going to be a fair bit of waste. And what I really like about these knives that they've shown here, these could be made with offcuts. So for those who are not seeing the video, these don't have handles on them. They look as if they're scraps of Dharma Steel, which they've managed to make these like really cool, like a little cleaver, and I think it's a bottle opener on that as well by the looks of things. And they're just really cool little sort of utility knives, a great way of using any scrap that you may have. So Dharma Steel's good stuff. We can get you a discount. So if you head on over to Dharma Steel and set up an account with them, you can then use Knife Talk 10 when you make any purchases and get 10% off. And that could be a lot of money. So go and do that. Tell them, we really want to see the work that you're doing. Tag us, tag them, and we'll highlight one a week. Okay. Mareko, do you want to take the next question?
This one is not from Thomas Nugget. It is from Kendall Brigham. He says, "Hey man, when I listen to the show, sometimes I feel like I'm behind because I'm not an artist. Do you feel like you have to be an artist before you can really make good knives?"
Come on, man.
What do you think?
I think this is. I think he's trying to. This is not. This is
Somebody's trolling you?
He's poking
I
you.
don't. I can't, come on, man. This isn't a real question. This isn't. You don't really believe this, do you? You don't. I mean,
So
honestly,
no.
I'll tell you. I mean, my opinion. My opinion is no. You obviously don't. I think that. Well, I don't think we ever really talk about like philosophy or any of that stuff. I think we're. You know, I think it's something you learn how to do, and then you get interested in doing it, and then you talk about it. It's not. I mean, we're not doing art. This is an art class. So you don't believe
If we
it.
talked
He's
about
saying
philosophy, would be considered artist.
No, I think that a lot of times when you're talking about, when you're talking about being an artist and stuff like that, a lot of it has to do with being able to express yourself and be confident in the things that you're doing, and then being able to express your feelings or express what you're trying to do in a very, clear way. I don't think we're doing that at all. I don't think what we're doing is talking about anything other than, some stuff we're doing. I don't know.
Oh, we've got a call. We've got a caller on the line.
Oh boy.
Bear with me just a second. Who could this be? Hello, you're live on the show. Who are you? How can we help?
Hi, this is Sam Goff from Battlefield, Utah. I had a question about epoxy cure time
Sure.
and what you think the best time is. I'm using 5-minute right now, but it's 24-hour better or...
Yeah, epoxy cure times, guys. He's talking about. So I use West Systems epoxies, and they're generally sort of within 20 minutes they're sort of fixed in place. But I won't do anything with them for 24 hours to give it a really good cure time. And I think a lot of it depends on temperature. And I find that, colder temperature, it'll take a lot longer to sort of set. But I've got a chamber. So basically I use an old refrigerator, which I have set up with a heater in there, and it's got a way of controlling that temperature. Keep everything at 20 degrees C, which 20 degrees C, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. People will have to look that up. But that seems to be the sort of ideal temperature for curing. But yeah, I mean, I've tried 5 minutes before, and everything seems to be a big panic. It's
68
like,
degrees.
68 degrees, Mareko's telling me. 68 degrees. But yeah, I've tried 5 minutes, and it's a one-shot fix then. If you're not doing it right, you're in some trouble. So I generally go with the sort of 20-minute rough set. And I'm not sure which would bond better. I've never really done any testing on what bonds better. Geoff, I mean, what are you using, and are you finding?
I used to use 5-minute epoxy, and I never felt like I was gaining anything by being faster. And I've completely stopped. And now I do at least 24 hours, and sometimes I'll even let things dry. I keep myself so kind of like occupied that I'm not like waiting around for glue to dry. So I would rather at least 24 hours, and then deal with it while it's hard, as opposed to like a little bit gummy. I don't want to deal with that.
That's
So,
what
like,
she said. Yeah.
Yeah, girl.
Mareko, what are you using? And what's your sort of preferred brand?
Yeah, I like a slower setting, like maybe a 20 to 30 or 20 to 40 minute range. And that's when it like sets up and you can kind of, especially if you got it bolted on, you could probably start working it. But it probably is one of those situations where it's still not fully cured, probably at least for 24 hours. So if you are in a rush or it's the only thing you're working on, then you can carefully start working on it. You don't want to be, if it's G10 handle scales or even like a really hard wood like ironwood or ebony, you don't want to get it overheated while before your epoxy is fully set. I usually try to time things so that if I'm gluing up, it's like the last thing I do for the day. And then it's like, I can't work on it. Like I have to go home. I got other shit to do. But like Geoff's saying, if you have kind of things working in stages, like maybe you glue up a handle and then you go to the next knife that's, a couple steps back and you start hand sanding it or something, or you're doing the prep for getting a handle scales on, all that kind of stuff. That way you're not necessarily sitting there twiddling your thumbs and possibly working on a handle, I guess, before, it's really, really ready for you to kind of start grinding on it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the wonders of modern technology, Sam. We've got another answer for you in the chat as well on the live video. So Griffith's Handmade has said that 5-minute epoxy is way too stressful. You need those longer work times over anything else. Yeah, I mean, why put yourself under that stress for 5 minutes, Get yourself a good 20-minute epoxy test, and you should be good. So Sam, whilst you're here and you've got a good connection, because generally we don't get that many people calling with a good connection, what kind of knives do you make, and where can people find you?
I make hunting and bushcraft knives. I recently jumped into kitchen knives.
Oh, it's been a while.
I don't do that anymore.
Oh my god.
It's been a while. I had trigger finger. I've missed that. I've really missed it.
We got a terrible review on Instagram. We got
Jeff,
a terrible review on
look at
YouTube
how happy he is.
I know, but like it cost us
Greg
like
have a little bit of happiness.
Yeah, of course, 100%. Look, he's back. Stone Ridge. Why? I'm saying why too, because somebody on iTunes gave us a terrible review just because they said, I'm gonna read it. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read the exact quote.
Craig, was that Stone Ridge Metalworks that we were talking to?
I think it was. I'm not sure. It just came up
Okay.
as Sam is his name, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it was.
has to
But
be.
like Dustin's saying there in the chat, he was trying to market himself. We know the rules. You know the rules.
All right. This comes from Colorado Bruce. That's a good name, actually.
Colorado. That's not a real name, surely.
Colorado
He's either a
Bruce.
porn star or a washed-up cowboy. He's one of the
I
other.
like Colorado. Listen, I'm trying to win Colorado Bruce back. He says the top is hang up on call-ins, and they got 1 star. These are horrible. As soon as you reach the same conclusion, I'll listen again. Until then, I'll find something else to listen to. So Colorado Bruce
Craig.
is right. Colorado Bruce is fucking right. I'm with Colorado Bruce. I thought we were done with that.
All right. That was Sam. I'm gonna say Geoff. He's
Yes.
15 years old,
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
you really have
Oh,
some nerve.
and
you have some
he makes
nerve.
hunting and bushcrafts, and like he was saying, it sounds like he's starting to get into chef's knives
Stone Ridge is the man. Yeah,
and
that's
getting
outrage.
his face smashed in by Craig.
I mean, you gotta be kidding me.
15-year-old
calling
boys
rela-
again. They cause me problems on this show.
God.
So,
That's something you don't want to have to say too often, Craig.
You said it too many times. Too many times.
oh, Geoff. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Do we have any?
How about some hot takes?
Yeah, of course. Everyone knows what a hot take is. And before I asked you guys if you had any hot takes beforehand, so to get your hot takes ready. So if you want to send in your hot takes, we got a few of them. This one comes from Benton Cumberbatch, and we know that hot takes are just basically like salacious opinions. Hot take: if your steak knife needs serrations, you need to rethink how you're cooking your steak. I'm not mad at that.
Straight.
I'm not mad at that. Well, I mean,
I love that.
the whole serrated steak knife thing is just because it's really hard to sharpen knives, but it's almost harder to sharpen a serrated steak knife. What are you going to use, like a needle, for Christ's sakes?
Well,
This is from
so aren't steak knives serrated because they so often are used on ceramic plates to keep the actual cutting portion of the blade off the plate?
I mean, a lot of restaurant people don't like serrated knives because they fuck the plates up. They'll fuck your china up. The serrations will cut the china, but like you don't have to like keep them sharp.
Yeah.
You know,
I
as
think the main
opposed-
thing is that, yeah, they'll stay sharp, whereas a lot of restaurants, maybe they buy cheap knives in, and yeah, they don't stay sharp. So I think that's the main point. Got to cut a steak with a spoon. Somebody's saying in the chat. Brigham Kindle again.
All right,
So-
so pardon me.
Sorry,
ahead.
go on. Any more hot takes?
Yeah, this one comes from Dustin Sheffield. Here's a hot take. The after show doesn't always have to be a huge cliffhanger, and I'm not even mad about it. So we've been doing a lot of cliffhangers lately. Maybe we'll do a cliffhanger this time too. Wilmington Forge says, here's a hot take. Fountain drinks should be free. That's a communist thing to say right there.
Yeah.
Where
are they not free?
What are you talking about? Where they're not free? You can't walk into a Burger King and get a free fountain soda. A fountain drink is like a place where you take the cup and you push it against the ice.
Oh,
and
I
you push it
see.
against
I
the-
see. I see.
It's not
okay.
like going to a park and like putting your head in
Like
a
a drinking
fountain.
fountain.
Well, that's what I was
It's not talking
thinking.
about a
That's
drinking
what I was
fountain.
thinking. I thought it was like a drink, which we get over here. We get drinking fountains everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
That's where when I was a kid, we used to walk around Central Park, and I was about to get a drink out of the drinking fountain, and then my dad said, "Don't drink out of that." That's where the homeless people wash their underpants. Never went to a public drinking fountain
Not
again.
surprising. Not
Never again. Never again. I was what underpants? 2 times in one show. Okay.
Somebody sent me a story today on Instagram, and I can't remember who it was, but it was about this woman who was baking bread, but the yeast that she was using, she was extracting from public toilets in Paris.
Sweet.
Oh,
And
God.
it's like, what? And she's saying this stuff is gold. It's got all the right stuff that you need to make a great bread. And it's just like, oh,
That's got to be a
Christ.
joke.
I think
a joke.
I think it was on the BBC website. I think it's a thing. The French, they're the funny buggers. They'll eat anything.
Can I just say that when I try to find weird stories, the only weird ones come from the UK. All of them. Like it's always like, they're always crazy, like testicle eating fish found in Europe, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Always you. Made Lyle style. Made Lyle Style out of the chat has just done a hot take. If you're in the chat and you want to put a hot take in, feel free. Hanging up on collars gives Craig's a Woody. Wait, let me just start over again. I want to talk about Craig's Woody. It gets me all flustered. hanging up on collars gives Craig a Woody more than opening packages on the can. That's right.
That's a
Craig
long time
takes the
listening to
mail.
that.
That's a linger longer. That's a old school right there. Back to the hot takes. Black Cap Blades is a good one. He says, if a person directly behind you is over 6 feet tall and you put your seat back on an airplane, you're the worst kind of person. I think I'd agree with that too.
Yeah.
Here's another couple hot takes from the man, we got a packed show.
Oh shit! I hung up.
All right,
Not intentionally. I pressed the button twice.
Sure.
If that was you, please call back. You're more than welcome.
Dustin Sheffield says, here's a hot take. After listening to KTP, Home Depot slogans sound like how doers get more done to me. I don't know, man. I should have read that one before I read it out loud. I don't know, but Dustin, you might have to send that one back. And then Griffith's Handmade says, hot take. Baltic Blades has never had a question read out on the show. Geoff edits them out too much. They become Geoff's questions. I got some questions from Baltic Blades. Don't you worry about Baltic Blades. We got him.
Okay, we've got a call. Hello, who's on the line? How can we help?
Hey, it's Brigham Kendall. How's it going?
Brigham Kendall from the chat today as well. All very good
From
here,
the
Brigham.
chat.
How are you?
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere.
Wait, what?
All over media.
All over media, man. I think I drive Geoff nuts because I say a lot. I text a lot of things to him. So I'm sorry, Geoff.
It's fine. It's fine. You're not the only one. Trust me.
I gotta come on, man, today. So hey, but I wanted to know. I know before COVID, you guys were all talking about like doing something all together where we can. Like, when are you guys gonna get together so I can come and meet you all and wave to Geoff and give everybody else fist bumps?
I'd say pop into Geoff's shop at any point. If you look on his website, I think his address is there. He loves people just pop around. It'll all be good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not vaccinated yet, so I'll have to wear a mask.
On a serious note, I'd love to. I've never met the other guys anyway. We're on 3 different parts of the world. But yeah, one day I'm sure things will align and we'll get together. But yeah, doing some sort of event or some sort of show live could be a lot of fun. I'm sure.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it at
Chateau,
Fingles, right?
Oh,
What was that? Sorry, Mareko?
We should do it at Fingles.
We should do it at Fingles. That would be pretty special. Yeah,
We could all meet in the middle.
Where are you from, Brigham? Where are you from?
I'm from Utah, so same kind of just down the road from the 15-year-old that just called.
Boy,
25 minutes away.
I know him well. I've been there. I know him well.
Brigham, the FBI's on the way. Just calm down. The FBI's on the way. Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
So we're not going to give you the cut this time, Brigham. Where can people find you on Instagram, and what sort of style knives are you making?
I'm just a beginner, and so I'm just learning as much as I can. But just Brigham Kendall at Instagram, or I'm on Facebook too. I'm just here trying to learn from y'all.
Cool. Appreciate that. And the hat, where'd you get that? That's a special hat. Where'd you get that?
This is my dirty work.
Oh, 2 in one show. 2 in one show.
He should have known. Brigham, you should have known.
I know it gets old quickly, but I can't help it.
Baltimore Bruce is going to kick our asses. Colorado Bruce. God damn. There's some more. You're really on fire today.
Before we do another hot take, let me talk about one of our sponsors. We talked about hand sanding earlier, and if you're doing any sort of hand sanding, you need to use the best sandpaper that's out there, and that is from Rhino-Wet, from Indasa. Rhino-Wet is the best stuff. It'll save you money just because it's so good, and you don't go through lots and lots of sheets of paper. I just use little strips, and it's great. You can get that from Texas Fire Supply with a discount. If you use Knife Talk 10, you'll get 10% off that order of Rhino Wet. But it's not just for Rhino Wet; it's for everything that they do there at Texas Fire Supply, and they've got a whole, and it's growing all the time. The list of stuff they've got for knife makers, a special section of the website. Go take a look, TexasFireSupply.com, and make sure you use Knife Talk 10, and you'll get your set 10% off. Can't go wrong. Okay.
How about some hot takes?
I'm going to do a couple more, and I'm hoping you guys are going to have some hot takes for me. Okay.
Okay.
I'm hoping I'm going to have some hot takes from you.
I've got one.
Grateful Knives in the chat has said hot take: hand sanding is like washing off mud. Gotta clean it to reveal the beauty. There you go. Tim Brown, blacksmith and knife maker, says hot take: you three should come meet me at my shop in South Africa. That sounds like a proposition. I don't know. The FBI's on their way to you too. And then
how old are you, Tim? Before we go further, how old are you?
Come on, man. Griffith Handmade Knives says, here's a hot take: Damasteel billets that the KTP host received will be the longest radio tease in the history of broadcasting. You might be right. And then back to what you guys have said, Matt Burchett says, here's a hot take: Avril Lavigne is greater than Taylor Swift.
Oh, I know you didn't say that, Geoff. I know, but the fact that you uttered those words, we need to throw you out. The fact you even uttered those words. Shall we bring Geoff back in?
Shame, I guess.
I have one thing to say. I'm with you. Nobody gets that. Okay.
It's an Avril Lavigne reference. I get that.
Right.
I get that.
And just so you know, I got a Baltic Blades hot take here. I don't want you guys to think that I'm, deep sixing Baltic Blades. I mean, look, he's a contributor. Not all of them are gold, but that's fine. Here's a Baltic Blade says, here's a hot take: if you make a hidden tang knife with a wooden handle and the tang is only held in by epoxy and not a pin at the end, then you have more faith in that epoxy than most people have in God.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe true.
I'm telling you, I mean,
maybe true. I've got a hot take. I've got a hot take for you.
Go ahead.
If you're one of those people with a flag in your username, whether that's on Instagram or Twitter, you're more likely to be a xenophobic prick than somebody who doesn't. That's my hot take.
Wow, that got intense.
Wow. Yeah, there's a bit of a backstory to that, which we may go into in the after show. Yeah.
Okay, we'll definitely. I want to know more. I was going to say, I mean, my hot take is that people learning things, people who put memes out to try to teach people things aren't as smart as they think they are. I recently had a friend of mine who's a bartender who's proudly, I would say, an obstructionist, a pandemic obstructionist. And he doesn't want to you don't want to wear a mask. You don't want to get the vaccine. You don't want to be helpful. But he keeps on putting in his stories, I thought it was only going to be 2 weeks until we flatten the curve. You can't do both, dude. You can't be an obstructionist and expect things to go well if you're not going to be helpful. It's like crazy. I mean, that is the craziest thing to me. People are just like, oh, I'm not going to wear a mask, and fuck you, I'm not going to get this. And all of a sudden, just like, whatever happened? I thought you were supposed to flatten the curve like 2 years ago. Can't do both.
Yeah. Mareko, do you have any sort of hot take at all?
How about some hot takes?
I would say knife makers are making knives for themselves and nobody else, because truly nobody needs what we do.
That's a marketing strapline for you.
That might be the best hot take in a long, long time.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Don't put that in your Instagram bio.
That was excellent. That was excellent hot take. Excellent.
Nice.
That's how you end of the bit off with a fucking good one like that. Or you can end one with Wesley Crumb, who says, here's a hot take: Geoff bought the blue truck nuts for himself because deep down inside he secretly wants to be a redneck.
Oh, the blue truck nuts. We'll get onto them later.
And
that's
while we're here, how dare you? You should hang up on yourself. That is terrible. And just sending out some good vibes. Wesley Crumb is a great knife maker, is a great guy, but he's also a firefighter in Mississippi, and he's actually being sent off to fight wildfires in California. So we're sending and he listens to the podcast all the time. He's a good guy, real good guy. He's doing some things that are like, this is the real the real people who do real things, and we're sending our best vibes to Wesley. Good luck, and stay safe. As they say.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have any
Unsolicited advice.
at all?
We have great.
And if you've got any
unsolicited
in the chat, please put them up as well. So we'd like to read them out too.
I have great unsolicited advice. The first one comes from Eric Markman. I've been holding on to this for quite a long time. He said, you know what you should do? You should call the listeners. No podcast does that. So if at any point, and speaking of calling the listeners, last week during that Fakakta quiz, I called Pariah Knives, and he sent a message back saying, we missed him. He was going to help me on what do you call a pack of unicorns.
Unicorns, yes.
Right. And it was like a squire or something like that, or a blessing of unicorns.
Yeah.
So not only did a friend of his sent me a message saying, I asked Pariah Knives if he knew what they call a pack of unicorns, and without saying anything, he says, oh yeah, it's called a blessing. He knew. If he had picked up,
wow.
he wouldn't have even need the choices. That fruitcake would have known 100%. So
okay, whoa. Let's test this out.
Yeah,
Somebody in the chat, give me a question. We're going to call up Pariah Knives. Let's see how clever this dude really is. Yeah.
If he picks up,
let me cue it up.
Call him. No, let's ask him the same question. See if he knows.
But you've already asked him the question.
We already know
surely.
he knows.
Okay, so what question you want to ask Pariah Knives? Get him on the phone first.
Okay, let's find him first. Pariah Knives. Here we go. Okay, we need a question.
Let's ask him his grid progression.
An interesting question, maybe. Okay, anybody in the chat, give us a question for Pariah Knives, and we're going to take a call. In the meantime, Geoff, any more unsolicited advice?
Yes. Aru Bladesmiths. Aru, AROO _ Blade Works. My apologies. Aru. Listening to the last podcast on bringing food into the theater. Sitting in a theater waiting for a movie to start. This entire family of 5 sits directly behind us. I start hearing a little bit of rustling, then smelling food. I glance behind me, and the mother has her ginormous purse open, and I shit you not, is pulling out bags of Taco Bell food out of it. They had a pack of 20 tacos, a bag full of burritos, nachos, cinnamon twists, and they were pulling up for the long haul buffet. On this movie. I turned back around to see a soaked cardboard bucket full of wilted buttered popcorn, oil-drenched popcorn, and thought, I'm not living my life to the fullest. So we were talking about all the things we smuggle into movie theaters. Tim Kingsford says, I have a question. Well, this one got sneaked in, but it is to Craig. I think it was when you were running away from the spider that was in your shop. Tim Kingsford says, I've got a question. Can Craig put in a good word for me for his friends at Stripe? They remove themselves from my website because folding knives are weapons, and PayPal is killing me with their fees.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I think we had that previously, but no, I mean, for whatever reason they've pulled it, I'm having nothing to do with that. But
I almost feel like this is a locality thing because I'm not seeing this.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, possibly. But if that was the case, surely the UK would be first off the list. But I don't know. Maybe don't market them as weapons. Market them as culinary knives or wherever it may be.
Speaking of folding culinary knives, keep your eyes peeled. Quentin Middleton is about to do a big Kickstarter for his folding chef knife.
That looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
July 5th. Yeah, I've had a folding chef knife years, probably almost like 15 years ago. A.G. Russell used to make a folding chef's knife, and I gave it to Tony when I worked in the back in the day. I thought you could use this more than I can. And they're slick, but his is really slick. His is super slick. So here's some more unsolicited advice. This is more to you, Craig. This is obviously when the spider happened, when the spider scared you away. This is from our friend Butthole Blades, greatest name in knife making. Unsolicited advice for Craig. Pellet grills are great, but get a Yoder, not a Traeger. Traegers are poorly constructed and made out of sheet metal. Yoders are built like a tank, and you won't be tossing a rusted out shell on the roadside in a few years. Did you ever figure out what grill you were going to get? You had some sort of dilemma.
I was going for a Traeger, but I didn't get one in the end. I just ended up getting like a run-of-the-mill sort of Weber barbecue. But a Yoda, great pellet grills, they is. That was a really bad Yoda impression.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm going to give you a hot tip. Whilst we're talking, unsolicited advice. Whilst we're talking about unsolicited advice, we mentioned at the top of the show about Broadbeck Ironworks making these great grinders. I've been using their surface grinder all week, and one thing that really bugged me when I first had it was, it's a feature, it's not a bug, but those magnets are so powerful. So when you lay a blade on there, let's say you're doing one side, you want to turn it to the other side, getting that blade off can be quite difficult.
That's what she said.
Yeah. So what I'm using is I've just got a sheet of just like 1 millimeter G10, really thin stuff, which is quite flexible. Use that as a back-in, then put the blade onto the magnetic sort of rack of the surface grinder. And as long as you keep a little bit overhanging the top, you can then simply just peel it off, turn it over, and do the next one. There's none of this sort of wrestling with the blade or sliding the blade up the magnets and getting scratches, that kind of thing. Use a little bit of G10 behind it and just peel it off each time. It works a treat. So that's with a Broadbeck grinder and their surface grinding attachment. But Mareko, you were just telling us about another attachment that you have from them.
I have, the deep platen. I have the new deep platen attachment as well as the buffing arm attachment, and it's been pretty damn handy. In fact, the first time I used the buffing arm attachment, which, disclaimer, I will never advise anybody else to do this because apparently I just like doing dangerous stuff. I put a diamond cutoff disc on there for cutting. Geoff's already shaking his head. Everybody listening to the podcast. To cut teeth, kind of reverse teeth in the hidden tang of one of my knives. And so, but it's been pretty handy. I love the 5/8 arbor. It's super flexible between any kind of maybe flap discs or wire wheels that you might use on your angle grinder. You can also use on that buffing arm. And it's a great machine. It's super solid, very well designed. And they also have a 4th of July deal that's actually also going on right now through the 5th. So if you buy, what is it? It's the premium, the max, or the mega, they're going to throw in their new disc attachment arm with the order. But you have to buy between now, everybody who's watching live, and the end of the 5th, July 5th on Monday, if you're catching this on Monday.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to ring Pariah Knives. I've got a question which I've literally just taken from the web, just searching quiz questions. The question is, let's ask you two guys first. What is the biggest animal in the world? Quite a simple one.
Great blue whale.
It is. Geoff, did you know?
I was going to say the same thing. I don't think
that's a simple one. That's a simple one.
This is Pariah Knives.
Okay, we've got one in the chat then from Griffith's Handmade Knives. For Pariah Knives, a legit question, not a quiz question. Do you use a flat pattern or a contact wheel for his grinds, or are they a combination of his grinds? Technical question. Let's give him a call, basically, to see if he's going to answer. Let's have a look.
Best or worst bit ever?
Possibly. Shh, it's ringing. Do not say fuck or bugger. We are live on the show.
How do I do this? Am I on?
Hello there. How are you? Hello there. Well, he's answered. That's one thing.
Wait. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How are you?
Hold on. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
I'm going outside.
This can be edited, this bit, surely. Surely, when this goes live on Monday, this will be tight. This will be tight.
As we know.
All right. What's going on?
Can you hear us? We've got a legit.
I can hear you.
We've got a legit question for you, and we were just wondering whether you were going to pick up. So we are live on the Knife Talk podcast, as you may well know.
Yeah.
But we've got a technical question for you from a fan of your blades, Griffith's Handmade Knives. Legit question. Just asking it whether you use a flat platen or a contact wheel for your grinds, or do you just use a combination of both?
I use a combination of both. Depending on what grind I'm going to do. Sometimes the flat works, sometimes the convex works with a slack, or got to use a contact wheel.
There we go. Another question for you very, very quickly. A group of unicorns. What would you call a group of unicorns?
It's a blessing.
Hey! He knew. Oh, he knew all along. Wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah, I needed him last week. Chris is the best.
Okay. Do we have any more unsolicited advice, or should we go straight to our hopes and dreams for the week?
We have a pile of unsolicited advice, or we also have positive messages. It's up to you, really.
A positive message could be good in this sour time that we live in.
Okay, let's see. Read some positive messages. Let me see if I can find them. On I titled it "DMs of Positivity." This is from Chad Kimmel.
You sad bastard.
What? You don't like that? DMs of positive, slipping into my DMs with some positivity. You don't like that?
That'll do.
Okay, this one comes from Chad Kimmel. Here's a positive story. I was in the middle of a move to California. I clearly underestimated the bureaucracy that is California. I didn't run my business from my house we were renting. I had 20 knives I had to finish, and I had no shop to work out of. And it was 25 days away from Christmas. I reached out to a Facebook page to see if anyone would let me rent their space or borrow their shop for a couple of weeks to finish things up. And Dennis Tyrell Metalworks, stood up and hooked me up, let me use the shop, finish my knives, and essentially bailed me out of a really bad spot. It was an incredible shop. He has an incredible shop for the amount of space he has. I love this community. Look at that.
Nice. Good news.
Wow.
That's what we like to hear.
Here's another one. This one's from Ian Jackart. Ian Jackart. I'm a student. I'm a student shop teacher. All the kids at the shop have been really inspired by bladesmiths. All over it lately. Bladesmiths all over it lately. Posting that pic or video may brightens a child's day to inspire them. Keep it up. And then Caleb Gant, aka Kale B, says, story of positivity for you. I rescued a dog from her 14-week stay in a shelter, and she's absolutely awesome. Not much of a story, but it sure is positive.
This is like local radio, isn't it? The end of the news.
I know. I love it. I was kind of hoping someone says, I'd like to wish happy birthday to Michael Hunt. Michael Hunt, happy
Exactly,
birthday.
yeah.
Happy birthday, Michael Hunt. Or Hugh,
His friends call him Mike. Yeah, or Hugh Janus. Yeah.
Hugh Janus. Yeah. Happy 34th anniversary to Hugh Janus. And then the last one comes from our friend Baltic Blades. I don't want you guys to think that I got a thing for Baltic Blades. Here's some positivity. After KTP mentioned me a few times, some makers whom I looked up to started following me. This made my day. Thank you, guys. It means so much.
Nice.
There you go. Positivity.
Nice. We've got a message in the chat from Maid Lyle Style, and it says, if Butthole Blades, who's a listener of the show, we call him out regularly, if Butthole Blades doesn't have a butthole from Maker's Mark, is he really committed to the brand?
And if you're in the chat, Griffith's Handmade came up with, give me some of them good names. I forgot all them good names. Griffith's Handmade wrote in Jack Mayhoff. That's a good one. If you want to send in the good ones, I used to listen to Howard Stern. I still listen to Howard Stern, and they always have good names. I always forget those good names.
Seymour Butts. Seymour Butts is the
old
classic
school.
Simpsons one. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
It.
The time of the show. This is the time of the show where we talk about what we're up to next week and where we'd like to be this time next week. So we're sort of setting an agenda, if you like. Mareko, do you want to go first this week?
Sure. Next week, I'm looking forward to the weather staying cool and staying well hydrated. And just being productive without making any mistakes. What else can you ask for in the knife making shop, honestly?
Makes sense. Yeah. Being productive without getting hurt, without making mistakes. That's what we like. Jeffrey.
Well, I'm excited because this is 4th of July weekend and my wife has turned normal holidays into fun holidays. So in the winter for New Year's and Boxing is the day, New Year's Day, we do a lot of winter cooking, and 4th of July, we do a lot of summer cooking. So this whole 3-day weekend for me is going to be cooking. And we're off the wagon because it's the way we've been all diligent for a long time. So we're going to have awesome 3 days of eating and drinking, and then back to our monkish ways. And then after that,
back to the misery.
back to misery. Yeah, back to the misery. It makes it all much better. A little misery makes it all that much better. And then we're getting ready. I got a pile of knives I've just finished. I got to finish up, just put them in the mail, and I am getting ready for my vacation that will have my entire order list, with the exception of 1 or 2 knives, or 3 knives, 4 knives out the door. So by the time I come back from vacation, I will only have 4 custom knives on the board.
Nice.
Wow. I'm so excited. This is years coming. I pulled it back from like 75.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. So my wish for the week, I've got 2 very important packages coming this week. So we mentioned last week about some handle material, where I've been working with a factory to make something quite special. Samples are definitely coming this week. I was hoping they would have been last week, but I've been told they're definitely here this week. So I'm really looking forward to that. And when they do come, it won't be a secret. I'll happily share exactly what they are and everything. But yeah, some really, really special stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have a lot of laser cut stuff coming with regards to the final designs of these folding knives, which have gone on forever and ever. I finally committed to stuff. And I've got a bunch of them already here, but there's a lot more coming so ready, so I can make a big old bunch before they sort of go on sale. So that's cool. Things have really opened up and just really changed here in France the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks. So we had our first night market this week, which is when everybody just goes out, eats together and drinks together, that kind of thing. And that's going to be a regular thing now. So a couple of times a week that'll be happening in various villages around here. So yeah, it's really nice, and the sun's out, and it's all good. So I'm just hoping for another week of good times and good stuff arriving in the post. Now I think that's a show. Thank you all for listening.
Don't you want to announce our upcoming vacation?
Shall we?
I mean,
yeah, we should do. Hugh G. Rection was another caller we could have on the show.
Yeah.
Haywood, you blow me was another
Jablow
one.
me.
Jablow me. Okay. Sorry, if you're listening on Monday, you're thinking, what the hell am I on about? These are comments that people are putting in the chat for us when we're talking about possible call-in names. But yes, back to taking a small vacation. So we've been doing this podcast for 6 years now. 6 whole years. Or I have anyway, and the guys have been doing it I've been doing it for 5 years, and I think you guys, you're on your 3rd year now, maybe. It's a long time. And we generally don't take breaks. We took maybe 2 weeks off over Christmas, and that's it. And I think we could do with sort of maybe freshening up the show a little as well. So we're having... Next week will be our last show before we take a 2-week break. We'll be back stronger than ever with new bits, whole lots of energy, and it's going to be good for us all. So yeah, so next week we're hoping to get a guest on as well. We won't mention who he is because we haven't actually reached out yet, but he's been on before.
Might not even happen.
Exactly. But he's been on before. It's a good guest to have. So, we're hoping next week's show is going to be a belter to go out with. We're going to have 2 weeks off, and then we'll be back stronger and better than ever. Thank you all for listening. And for all those who are watching live and who have been in the chat and people who've called up and so on, this is what makes the show, this sort of interaction with people. Griffith's Handmaids is saying 4 years, lol. It feels like 8. But maybe it is 4 years. I thought it was 5. Anyway, it's a long time. We've been doing the show for a long time. So anyway, yes, thank you all for listening. We should speak to you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.
This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
It is hot as balls in this room. It's really hot.
I just pulled up
Jeez.
that advertisement I sent you guys about those underwear. The tagline is "Social distance your balls from your legs."
So these are boxer shorts with like a little pocket inside, but rather than just have one pocket, they've got two pockets, so you actually split
They
your
call
balls.
it the ball hammock. The ball hammock is what.
They can't be comfortable. It's like those socks, the socks with the individual bits for each toe. Ugh, so,
Awful.
Those are the worst.
Totally awful.
terrible things.
Awful.
Terrible things. So 2 weeks off. What are we gonna do?
I'm gonna go to
I
Wisconsin.
know what I'm doing.
We're all going to Wisconsin with Geoff and Jeff's family. Surprise!
It's gonna be a long drive.
We're going to invite Brigham as well. Brigham and Kindle's coming too. We're having a road trip. We're all going to show up.
Yeah.
How long a drive is it?
15 hours. I know for you it's nothing, but like it's flat. I mean,
it's
it
still
is like
a long
New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, into Indiana, into Illinois, and then to Wisconsin. It's not. My wife and I used to do it all the time. We used to leave at 4:00 in the morning, and then it's just it's not a beautiful drive. So it's just like hauling ass, and we'll have 2 dogs with us, and we'll see.
Do you guys have
We'll
to drive
see.
through Pennsylvania?
Yeah, this way. I mean, we just do Route 80 the whole way, basically. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of choice.
All the
Fine.
various times I drove across the country, for some reason, Pennsylvania just seemed to go on for fucking ever. It was crazy.
I went to school in Ohio, and to get to, we have to do the same route, and it's just like you gotta. I mean, it is awful. It is an awful drive. It's just boring, Yeah, I tell you what, the greatest drive from my house to Montreal is just like you're driving through the Adirondacks, and it is beautiful from like once you get on the highway directly to Montreal. It's the best. And the cool thing is you're in New York, and then all of a sudden it's like everything, the radio stations start to turn French, and then the signs start to look European. Next thing you know, we call it France Junior. It's great. you could leave in the morning and then drive for lunch. You'll be in France Junior. We love it.
Wow.
Nice.
Very nice.
Are you gonna
Mareko,
stop and see Josh Scott?
No, I'm not seeing anybody. We're gonna stop to. I mean, I would, but I'm with 2 people who have no interest in. We need to get. We need to get to Wisconsin like before it gets dark. So we're really there's. He stops the bathroom and that's it.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Mareko, what will you be up to? Friday nights to yourself again.
Yeah, we're gonna be spending a lot of time with family and friends. Actually, we're gonna be. So my wife's family has a lake house on an island in the Puget Sound.
Oh, wow.
And we're gonna go up there, and spend about a week up there actually with some longtime friends of Sarah's. They're really great people. They got a daughter that's maybe a year or 2 older than Victor, so he'll have somebody to hang out and play with too, while we just kind of hang out and cook food and lounge and basically have not much more responsibility outside of making sure the kids stay safe.
Nice.
And then I think the weekend before that, we're gonna. My wife's sister has a beach house, and so we're gonna go out there.
But you married well, Mareko. Jeez.
Yes. So they have a beach house, and it's on Long Beach in Washington, and there's just it's really nice out there. It's super low key. There's tons of oyster beds and oyster farms out there, so we'll get some oysters going. And there's actually some cheesemakers out there as well, and it's also kind of like a kitschy portion of the Long Beach Peninsula is kind of a kitschy beach town where they have all of like those weird little shops and arcades and stuff just selling tchotchkes and all kinds of kind of shitty stuff, souvenir stuff. But it's nice to go down there and get like ice cream and play putt golf.
I'm sorry, the island you're talking about isn't Bainbridge Island, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
It's I can't even remember what island it is right now. But it's only like 20-minute drive, 30-minute drive from where we live.
Sounds good.
Oh, that's
so
perfect.
Is there no restrictions for you going between states now? Is everything just sort of open?
There never
in
was.
The US? Really?
There never was. Never was.
Wow.
This is the biggest joke of it all. Is
Wow.
there was this concept that the police were going to like look to see how many cars were in your parking lot, in your driveway for Thanksgiving, and they were going to burst through the doors and like put you under arrest with turkey in your face. It's the stupid. There was no restrictions. You know, they say we want you to do a quarantine, but I mean, no one's. People got bigger fish to fry than that. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So there's no restrictions. I mean, I'm sure that my sisters came back and forth from Florida at one point, and no one stopped, and they had New York plates.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing because I mean, you guys talk about 15-hour drives and and so on, still staying within the States. But a 15-hour drive for me is going through 3 or 4 different countries with different borders everywhere. And each one having different restrictions and so on. It's mad that you can just travel that way.
Well,
That's
I mean,
cool.
it's great. I mean, you pay a slight
it's
toll.
cool.
It's great because you don't have to like go through checkpoints and stuff. I mean, to get into Montreal can be a production. Getting in that border shit is tough. But no, you don't even you can cross through states without even a toll booth. Like there'll be a toll booth like 15 miles past the border. There's no. This isn't like, there's no like border guards between New Jersey and New York.
Jeez. So, what have you guys been watching, listening to, reading? What's been? I've been. It feels as if I've been sort of out of sort of like the social world, of what everybody's watching and all the rest of it. Because we're back in the UK and we've been back, and I've just had my head down for a couple of weeks now. So yeah, what are people watching? What's cool these days?
I don't know what's cool, but I just watched About Time again. It's I think the movie came out in like 2010 or 11. It's about time travel and it's interesting. It's a story about the relationship between his son and his father. And I feel like you don't really see a lot of those kind of movies. Honestly, it's more usually I feel like it's more about like the daughter and the father, or vice versa, the son and the mom, or the mom and the daughter, but it's usually more focused around women's relationships. And so I really love the movie, though. It's kind of a rom-com. It's really good. It's got Rachel McAdams in it, who is obviously a babe. and it's just really it's a really good heartfelt movie, and it's probably, for me, it's probably one of the top 10 movies I've ever watched, and I love every time I watch
About
it.
Time.
I love
Cool.
watching. It's About
Where do you see
Time,
that? Is it
and
on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
it's
Cool.
it's a
Look it
really
up.
good movie.
Nice. Jeff, are you allowing yourself to watch TV these days?
I mean, it's like I don't really watch a lot of TV. The TVs I watch, the things I watch are dumb. I tell you what, you're gonna make fun of me for this, but like, I kind of enjoy the algorithm on Reels. I find it to be fascinating.
Oh, you just
Like,
you just
I
put
literally
it on
like
play?
I flip, but then I count how long between flips to see what's going to be next, and it's like this crazy. I can't like my kid likes TikTok and stuff like that, and I'll talk to her about different songs. And if you listen to one song, all of a sudden it comes up 10 times, and it was like this strange. It's like this strange like slot machine. Like I don't know what it is, but I'm fat. Everyone complains about the algorithm. You got to beat the algorithm. I find it to be fascinating.
Yeah, I never look at Reels. Never ever look at Reels.
It's bizarre, and I can't. I'm compelled, and I don't know why. And I find that, and I'm like, it's almost like I'm having this moment of like, I heard this woman's lip syncing to the song, and then the next woman's lip syncing to the same song, and the next thing you know, I'm involved with sexy farmers, and then I'm sending those sexy farmers to Ben.
Sexy farmers specifically.
Sexy farmers. So I'm sending these these like sexy farmers girls driving tractors, and I'm sending them to Ben. And I said, "Is this what it's like at your place?" And he goes, "No." He's like, and he writes back. He says, "What's funny is I'm on for some reason I'm into I guess I'm getting a lot of sexy fiddle players." So Ben is getting sexy fiddle players, and then I went from sexy farmers to like goth kids, and it was this strange. I'm trying to find the bridge between it all, and it's like this. And my kid is just like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I'm like trying to like I'm trying to like figure out where to go and what I should be, how fast I should be going, and see how I can get it back. And it's weird, bizarre.
Very strange.
I find it
Very
bizarre.
strange.
There you go. That's what I'm watching. Embarrassed.
There we go. Well, I think that's a show, to be honest with you. I think we're done. Yeah, let's try and get a guest in for next week then. That would be cool.
Should
Dr.
we?
Laren, do we think?
Yeah, let's reach out to Dr. Laren. Who,
Yeah,
Mareko,
that'd be good.
you're the heavy here, so maybe you should reach out to him, see if he wants to come on, or we'll do a group chat or whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah. And if not, I've got Dr. Chris's details. I can just drop him
Oh,
online.
that's
Come on
that.
at any point.
P.S. Oh no, we're not stopping now. Now I wanted to talk to you guys something, because the funny thing is Craig sent me a message saying that Bill Cosby got released from prison, and you said we're going to talk about this on the podcast, and I was so excited to talk about the podcast because I wanted to break both your balls, because I thought, all right, Craig's going to say, oh, I can't believe it, Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby, and I was going to bring up the fact that when I had on Dr. Chris from episodes and episodes ago about the Midnight Strangler, what was the Zodiac Killer?
Zodiac Killer, yeah.
You two chicken hearts thought that the Zodiac Killer was gonna listen, so you didn't want to say anything because you were afraid the Zodiac Killer was gonna come on and get you. And I'm thinking, I can't wait till they talk about OJ. We're gonna talk about OJ. We're gonna talk about Bill Cosby, and then I'm just gonna lay him out.
That was my wife when I mentioned what we're doing with the Zodiac Killer thing. She was like, "Well, you can't say anything because he could be listening. He could be listening out loud."
That is hilarious. This is the most hilarious thing of all time. If you listen back, all right, guys, here's your if you're waiting for, for our holiday week, go back and listen to the Dr. Chris episode, because these two guys clammed up completely because they're afraid some 105-year-old strangler is going to show up at their doorstep and choke them.
The main reason I was quiet because I could see Dr. Chris's big titties jiggling about on his bed.
Go back. Tell the
He's just
story.
mesmerized.
Here's your chance, guys. You go back and listen to that episode, knowing that when Craig got him, it was like, at the time we were not doing 3 p.m. We were doing like 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning. No, it was like 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So Dr. Chris was down in Florida. So Dr. Chris gets on with Craig. Craig can see and we can't. And describe what you saw with the fucking Zodiac investigator.
So this was sold to me as this guy was investigating the Zodiac Killer, and he's from a high-level university, and they've got some leads on the kind of knives that it could have been, and they wanted to describe the knife, and because obviously we have knife sort of experts to listen to the show, maybe somebody could help him with the lead. That's how it was sort of sold to me, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool. Let's get him on the show. So I'm expecting this high-level professor now coming on. And at the time, we weren't doing live video, but we've always done sort of video between us, I suppose. We could sort of see each other, that kind of thing. And when we have guests, we were using Skype at the time, so I could see them, but the other guys couldn't. So imagine like a really bad 80s slasher movie where they always go to like these really like shitty like motels, these like really, really bad motels. Imagine one of these with this guy who, I don't mean to be unkind, but he was overweight. He was a big guy.
You said he had titties.
It's pretty warm in this thing. There's a big fan going there. Exactly like an 80s slasher film. It was terrible. So he's there. He got his top off. He's on the bed. He's got his top off. He's got this big like 3-gallon bottle of like Coca-Cola, which he's drinking at the same time. It's spilling all down into his cleavage. It was, so we're talking, and occasionally we tell you a joke or a little, and he'd giggle, and his titties are jumping up and down. It was the worst. It wasn't how it was sold to me. Put it that way. So yeah. And we didn't find the killer. We didn't find the surprise. We didn't find the killer.
Well, so he reached out to me, and I thought, hey, this would be a great thing for the show. Yeah. And then afterwards, Jared Thatcher reached out and said, all right, here's exactly what happens. This is exactly what happened. Griffith Handmaid just did a good one. He says, careful. Dr. Chris is the Ohio Cheez-It killer.
Don't know what that is.
It's nothing. He just made it a Cheez-Its like a fucking cracker.
Okay.
A cracker. So Jared figured it out. Jared, based on the description, it was, I mean, we made a lot more sense than the investigators. The investigators didn't have. And Jared actually coughed up an image of what he thought it was, based on the description, the kind of sheet that was, the kind of this, the kind of that, and what your people were using. And he collected butcher knives. And then as soon as I said, all right, we're going to talk about Jared. Jared figured it out. He's like, don't mention my name too, because obviously he thought too that this 90-year-old geezer was going to come after him too. But it was hilarious. Yeah. That might have been, that might have been an awesome bit, especially if we had like cracked the case. But it's even more funny because the way you describe it with this fat dude like burping soda down at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and titties out, lying on the bed.
I don't think he was genuinely from a university. I think he was just like some dodgy bounty hunter, and he was stuck in a motel on his way to go.
I mean, you can only like prove, it was everything was so fast paced on getting him in. I was just like, oops. Yeah. But that makes me laugh so hard.
It was fun. Yeah. Things we do on this show, eh? Right. I'm heading off. I've got a wife to I was going to say to entertain them. That's terrible.
Easy, Junior. I mean, it's like 11 o'clock there, right?
To have dinner with. That's what I meant.
Mercy.
That's what I meant. Right. I'm ending the stream. Thank you all.